Hey there, Start here. Hope you guys are enjoying this super active week in Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. Yeah, it's not like literally nothing going on this week. So I figured I would just hop on here and talk a little bit. I'm not going to do like a news review, lots of great content creators out there doing that already. I think everybody and their mother watches Cinzer's news vid anyways. So if you want, the full Monty on that, definitely go check out Cinzer's review. I just wanted to talk briefly about the Clash of Wills, do sort of like my Clash of Wills prep. So I'll do that in this video, talking about a few things to sort of prepare for the upcoming Clash of Wills. And I also wanted to talk about the upcoming Hyoh banner. I do intend to pull for Hyoh, unless he comes out and he's like just a totally borked unit and, he's janky or he's like not good at all. In which case I will not. But based on what we've seen from the live stream, he seems like he's going to be a pretty good unit, and his leader skill alone really has me interested. Clash of Wills is my favorite content, and since he seems like he's going to be a really great unit for Clash of Wills, especially on fire teams. And he has the AoE ramping fire amp for the party. He's not limited. I generally don't like pulling for limited units, but hence why I don't have like Aya Brea or Chow. The exception being like the Nier units, right? So I did pull for Nier last year, and just like last year, Gumi has given us 2 premium units. I don't know if this is going to be like the new thing going forward on Black Friday, is that they're just going to give us a double premium banner. But yeah, it could be. So the 2 premium units are Hyoh and Panthera, and then of course old Frosty here, Veritas of the Frost. So my concern is that it's going to be a similar situation to last year, where there is like a clear winner between the two. Last year, 2B was the clear winner between 2B and A2. 2B is still a very, very good unit, still functional to this day. I used her in like the last 2 Clash of Wills. She's probably going to be used in the current one that's upcoming, because she's got human and machine killers in her kit. And she's just an incredibly versatile damage dealer and has stood the test of time. So a year later, she's still rocking and rolling. A2, not so much. A2 fell off fairly quickly, and unless you were bringing her on like a light team, I did happen to use A2 in the last Clash of Wills, but she was really there just to buff up 2B. Her damage just is so falling so far behind, whereas 2B is still keeping up with even the latest DPS units in Clash of Wills. My hope is that Hyoh will be the 2B of this banner. It would be great if both of them were really good and really versatile. I'm not sure if that's how it's going to work. My biggest gripe is that they are both on the same banner. What I loved about the Nier banner was that they had them on separate step-ups. I know, some people like having them both on the same banner. Personally, I would rather just be pulling for Hyoh and not have to worry about getting trolled by Frosty on my way to getting Hyoh. My plan is to pull for pity. I made a post about it earlier today, sort of laying out the different pity costs that you can go to. So this one does have the special vision card on it, if you want, kind of like Chow's banner a couple weeks ago. In my opinion, the vision card is not necessary if you have strong vision cards, like strong 170 vision cards with at least 500 flat attack on it, like Flaring Ether Rain's card. If you have like Richt's card, that would be really great. Now with that said, the vision card is still BIS on Hyoh and Frosty. Don't get me wrong. Even with the lower base attack, the static attack will make it stronger than any other card you put on them, even their own vision cards. This card will actually be stronger than their own vision cards on them. So keep that in mind. If you're the kind of person that wants to, you know, try and eke out the most damage, you're like ranking high in dark visions or whatnot, you're going to want to go for the vision card for these guys on the step up. If you're like me, I honestly, I don't care about ranking high in dark visions, and the difference in attack is only like 300 to 400 attack between like Flaring Ether Rains card on Hyoh and the step up vision card. So personally, rather than spend 70,000 lapis to pity Hyoh and get that special vision card, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick with the generic 5-step lap or 5-step step up here. And if I do 4 laps on that plus 1 extra step, that's 58,500 lapis for a pity. So that's a premium unit for less than 60,000, which, you know, premiums used to be right on the 60,000 mark. So that's under 60,000 for a premium unit. It's not too shabby. You know, they've got some great units on this step up banner, like Genesis. Holy moly, I only need 2 Genesis to get to EX3. They do have Genesis fragments with the summon coins, because obviously these are premium units, so you're not going to be getting fragments from the summon coin shop, but Genesis is in the fragment shop. So all I have to do is pull 1 Genesis along the way, and then I can get 50 shards from the shop. Boom, I've got an EX3 Genesis to take into Clash of Wills. That would be super exciting. Chances of that actually happen, probably slim to none. What I'll probably end up getting is Laswell, who I already have at EX3. I'll probably pull like 3 of him on my way to getting Hyoh, and then I'll also pull like a Frosty instead of Hyoh along the way. I wouldn't mind getting a Saz. I have none of him, and he's a good sort of like fire support. I also wouldn't mind getting Ish. I don't have any of her. So either of those two, I would be happy to get one of those, but hopefully I can get at least 1 Genesis along the way, get my Genesis to EX3, and hopefully also pull at least 1 Hyoh along the way, because if all I get is the pity Hyoh, I can't even get him to EX1. That is the double-edged sword of running for a premium unit. Shards are incredibly hard to come by. You know, I would have to wait the 2 weeks for the shards to show up in the VIP shop, at which point Clash of Wills is already over. So the hope is to pull 1 Hyoh on the way up, get the pity at the bare minimum, so that I can get him to EX1. And I think I could make it work with an EX1 Hyoh. We'll just have to wait and see. The one banner that I honestly can't recommend, unless you're just really strapped for lapis and you're like, I don't have anywhere near enough to get pity anyways, I don't think I would recommend this one down here with like the 50-50 chance to get one or the other. The reason being, there are no summon coins, so you can't go to the summon coin shop and get anything for it, right? And there are no pity tickets. Okay, so you're not even working your way towards pity. So just be careful with this step up. You may be thinking, oh, that's great, I could get one, you know, and you know, then I'll be like halfway to pity already, and then I can just pity the other one. Yeah, no, there are no pity tickets on that. What those little tickets you see on there are for the curated NV pool, right? The curated summons where you pull for one of these 4 units right here. So do not be fooled, okay? The only time I would say that this banner is going to be desirable is if you only have like 36,000 lapis. That's how much this one costs, okay? If you have 36,000 lapis, but you want one of these units and you don't care which one it is, you just want one of them, then yeah, you know what, go for it, whatever. You know, you do you. But personally, I do not see any real value in this banner right here. So it's either spend your 58,000 lapis just going for pity on one of them, or if you're someone that really likes to compete and you want to go for the vision card, then you're going to be spending 70,000, all right, to pick up that vision card on your way to pity. So just keep that in mind. Me personally, I'm just going to be spending 58,000 to get my Hyoh, and then hopefully I get some other good stuff along the way, and that's pretty much it. All right, so that's really all I wanted to talk about on the banner. My hope is that when the data mine comes out, we'll get some really good intel on these guys. Hopefully both of them look like they're going to be strong units. But yeah, personally, I really just want Hyoh. I loved the 7-star Hyoh when he came out. He was like one of the first units I really pulled hard for, because you know, he was really awesome back in the day. Carried me through a lot of content. And yeah, so I'm excited to see a new version of Hyoh. Frosty, whatever. If I get them, cool. If not, whatever. So anyways, moving on, let's talk now about the Clash of Wills. So this one is against Lynx. A very different sprite from what we saw in the live stream, but of course that's how it always goes. They usually show you like the Echelon 1 sprite on the live stream, and then this is like the Echelon 5 sprite. You see he's changed colors. He's like covered in flames. He's got the flame laser swords coming out of his arms there. Yeah, I mean, you know, it looks interesting. It's fine. It is a machine, human, demon. So 3 of the easiest killers to build for. We'll look at some killers later on when we get to the units and look at the team builds and stuff. Super easy to build for machine, human, and demon. So I'm hopeful that this one will be a little bit easier for people to build their teams around. It even has 4 weaknesses. Now, with that, keep in mind that the last couple of Clash of Wills, there has always been one weakness that is not actually a weakness. It just has 0% resist to that element. With 4 weaknesses up here, I would not be surprised if fire and ice are the only ones with the innate weakness and water and light is just set to 0. Okay, so don't be surprised if you're not, you thought you were going to bring your Chow in here and your water team, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go rock this with my Chow and my water team, and then you get in there and it's like water is just 0% resist, and you can't get enough of an Imperil to actually hit the damage cap. Same thing with light. You know, I used a light team in the previous one with my Tyvis and my Nier girls. I highly doubt that light is going to have an innate 40% weakness. I think it's going to be just fire and ice because they want to sell Hyoh, they want to sell Frosty. So don't be surprised if you get in there and fire and ice are the only real true weaknesses. All right. It says it uses non-elemental physical attacks. It makes no mention of magic attacks, which has me very excited because that means we're finally going to get a Clash of Wills where we can bring a physical tank. So physical tanks are going to be making a comeback on this one. I am very excited because I'm bringing my best girl, Esther. Runda is also a viable option, I think, but we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the team builds. It does say it uses attacks that inflict fixed damage. Usually those are uncoverable, but as long as you're providing general mitigation for your party, those really shouldn't be any danger. So as long as you have someone on the party that can provide general mitigation for the party members, like Runda would be great because he's providing at a minimum 80% general mit, 85% once you get his SLB up. Fixed damage is going to be dealing practically nothing to your party. Even Esther has a 60% general mitigation that she provides to the party when she uses her cover. So yeah, I think we're going to be fine on that one. It does say that it heals itself and reduces party's healing efficiency. Okay, so depending on how strong those heals are, you might want to consider bringing someone like Elisperis, who can reduce boss's healing, or Melissa, who can also reduce the boss's healing. And it says it imbues attacks with fire element and reduces party's fire resistance. So this can be a really good thing, right? It means you can potentially build your tank for full resistance and then not have to even worry about it, all right? Worry so much about bulk. The question is, how often is it going to imbue itself? Are there going to be turns where it's not imbued, which is most likely not going to be fire imbued all the time. Also, there's probably going to be times when you're going to need to do like a perfect dispel. Perfect dispels will get rid of the boss's imbue, all right? And there might be some issues with like trying to time that, timing your perfect dispels. If you have someone like Hyoh who's doing like an auto cast, that can really screw up, you know, if you were planning on being resistant, but then it gets rid of the imbue. You know, some things to keep in mind there. It also depends on just how strong that fire imperil is. Considering that it's only mentioned one element, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a 300% imperil or maybe even higher, since it's only one element. So do keep that in mind. You might need to be building your tank for some pretty high fire resist, but also easy because it's only one element to build up those resists. For boosting your morale, It says, remember that boosting fire or ice damage for your units. Another reason why I think fire and ice are going to be the only true weaknesses, and water and light are just going to be neutral. It's interesting that it says boosting fire or ice damage. So what I think that means is when you do like your elemental amps. So if you use like Infiraga, that comes with a 30% amp. So that, you know, that should boost your morale. But even if you have someone that like amps fire or ice, but doesn't actually imbue your party with fire or ice, those should also improve your morale. And of course, they're going to do, you know, the fire and ice resistance for all allies by 150. I'm not sure why it's boosting fire and ice if the boss doesn't actually use ice, but yeah, there's that. Also, another thing, considering that the boss is all physical, consider bringing units that can imbue the boss with elements, like Melissa could be very, very helpful. You can imbue the boss with dark and then build for dark resistance, or, you know, or she makes sure your party absorb dark. Those are some things to keep in mind as well. You could also potentially use, what's his name? You could use Malphasi, who imbues with wind for 1 turn, or you can do Kresnik, who imbues with light for 3 turns. So there's some things to keep in mind there, some units that might be helpful with that. Once again, number of turns is replacing, number of turns for clear is being replaced by final morale value. So again, you don't have to worry about clearing it in 10 turns. You just have to keep your morale above 180% by the turn that you kill it. Okay, so what that means is prepare yourself for this to take longer than 10 turns. All right. I want to talk really quickly about the Cuirass of Will, so that, you know, this season they did finally give us some good upgrades for the Cuirass. I had not purchased it when it first came out because it just wasn't worth it. Like, you know, this was the old Cuirass when they first revealed it, and like the stats were just like didn't make it worth it at all. The upgrades, some of them I think are very, very much worth it. And so I would say the Defenders and the Arcanists, not really worth it. I wouldn't bother with those at all. The flat stats are not all that impressive. Saviors, I hear a lot of people saying Saviors is a really good investment. I'm going to actually be the I'm going to be the antithesis to that and say that I don't think that's actually all that good of an investment. I think the Swordsmen and the Swordswomans are much better investments because they have elemental resists attached to them. Okay, and oftentimes tanks, whether they're physical or magic, are going to want elemental resistances of some kind for whatever situation you're going into. Also, the other thing is that these two nullify stop, charm, and death. All right, the Saviors doesn't. All right, it just does like a partial ribbon. Does sleep, paralysis, confusion, silence, and stone. It actually doesn't. It doesn't nullify poison or disease. So it's not even a full ribbon. But this does KO, stop, and charm, which are 3 kind of harder things to find in gear and materia, whereas ribbons, you can find them everywhere. There are tons of materias that do ribbons, tons of gear that do like full status ribbons. So personally, I think the Swordsmen's or the Swordswoman's are the better investment. And personally, the first thing I went for was the Swordsman's for the previous Clash of Wills because it had water resists on it, and I needed more water resist. I'm glad I did that one because it also has fire resist on it for the current one. So my tanks are going to be wearing the Swordsman again for that fire resistance. Okay. The Swordswoman's is basically the exact same thing, except it does the other 4 elements that Swordsman's doesn't. So my next purchase is going to be the recipe for the Swordswoman's, so that way I can interchange these 2 for whatever elemental resists I happen to need. Okay, so if like the next Clash of Wills comes up and I need like ice, lightning, light, and dark, I'm going to swap over to the Swordswoman's Cuirass of Will. You see what I'm saying? So in my personal opinion, the Swordsmen's and the Swordswoman's are the best investments for the Cuirass of Will. Now, of course, that being said, if you don't have much Clash of Wills gear at all. Like if you haven't purchased some of the other more important things like the rings, the regalia, the helm, the crown, and the diadem. If you haven't gotten those yet, do those first. The rings, most important. This should honestly probably be like the last thing that you upgrade as far as Clash of Wills gear is concerned. So, you know, only upgrade this if you are finished with everything else and you've already got, you know, plenty to upgrade. But once you are ready, swordsmen and swordswomen are my recommendations. All right. Okay, I think that's enough on this Clash of Wills. Yeah, I will say Mystic Tenacity. Awesome material. Get 2 of them. All right, that was the first thing I bought from the first Clash of Wills, the last one that just finished. I bought 2 of these and then 1 of the Mystic Acuity. When I'm done with this one, I'm going to get the second Mystic Acuity for the killers, and then I don't know. None of these units really stand out to me personally. You know, maybe. You know, Tyvis and Ish, maybe, but with Hyoh coming, Tyvis and Ish are basically, I mean, they've just fallen off the face of the earth now because of Hyoh who's coming. Veritas of the Frost is whatever. He's a good, you know, ice buffer, I guess, but doesn't really bring anything else. And the rest of these units are they're all very outdated. So, you know, just not a whole lot to say about those units. So honestly, the Materia's best thing in the cow shop right now. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some units and some things that we're going to bring into the current Clash of Wills. Okay, so again, if you didn't know, you can go into Clash of Wills even when it's down, and you can play around with your units. You can kind of prepare and get things set up and ready to go. All right, I'm going to load up. Start with my FTKO team, the team that I intend to kill on the first turn, hopefully up to level 99. We'll see how far it gets me. It might not get me all the way to level 99. Obviously, you see my my level 1 5-star Hyoh over there. That is a placeholder, of course, as you might imagine, holding the spot for what will hopefully be, at the minimum, an EX1 Hyoh and Panthera. All right, so that is my hope. So when you see Hyoh, that 5-star Hyoh, all right, that is just the placeholder. But here's the team. I'm going full fire, of course, because I've got Genesis, and you know, I'm planning on Genesis, you know, just sort of carrying the majority of the damage in this fight, both in my FTKO clear and in my rank 1 clear. I haven't actually been able to do a first turn kill team in quite a while. They've just been a bit too bulky, and with the 3 billion base HP, it's just been a little bit too much. But I'm hopeful that I might be able to get this one done. We'll see. We'll see how far it carries me. If I can't do it with my FTKO team, I'll just switch over to my rank 1 team, and we'll just take a couple turns and knock it out. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about the units. So, Dark Lineage Fina, she was on the same banner as Flaring Ether Rain. So if you pulled for Flaring Ether Rain like I did, probably remember back in whenever it was, March or April, whenever it was he came out, I had been saving up for a while for Flaring Ether Rain, and so I went big on Rain, and of course got, you know, some Fina Dark Lineages along the way. She's really nice for this battle, especially for a first turn kill, because she can do buffs. So she can do your full buff with a 250 LB damage boost, plus she can do Demon Killers at 160 for the party and Machine Killer at 160 for the party. All right, would be nice if it had Human, but you can only do triple cast anyways, and she can triple cast all that stuff. You know, you could do, if you wanted to, you could do like a 250 on Genesis, but I think having the 160 to the whole party is definitely better. Okay, so that is going to be her role as a turn 1 buffer. She also has, you know, some other good things. If you wanted to use her for a more extended clear, you know, she'll be there to heal up your party. She can provide resistances if you need to. She can remove. You know, she's got this one thing where she can remove enfeeblements from your party, which is really cool. She can give you like a full, and this will actually So here's one of those instances where you have an amplify but no imbue. This would actually increase your morale for your party because she amps fire and ice. So there's a nice little morale filling ability for you right there. All right, and she can deal some damage. She's got, what is it, it's a 300 times mod boost, or modifier, and she has a mod boost on here for 130, so a 430 times modifier. I think it's, what are the chains on it? 27, so it's triple bolting strike. So, you know, it's not bad. She can deal a little bit of damage there if you need her to as well, if you need that little bit of damage just to finish off the boss. Okay, and I'm thinking, you know, like a no mods clear. You may be able to get away with her in an all mods clear. I don't know. Someone might do it. She is a really great unit for fire teams. Like, let's say you wanted to bring 2B on the party, but 2B doesn't have, you know, she doesn't have her own fire amp. You can use Fiend Dark Lineage to do a 100% amp on your 2B. That way 2B can focus on using something like Tyvis's Spirit to, you know, give her the bigger mod boost, and there you go. Okay, so there's some potential there with Fina. Dwayne, of course, is going to be on the party, mostly just because he will chain with Rain using his atonement. Okay, so that's the plan for him, to just chain it up with Rain, just be a chain partner with Rain. I'm not sure what Hyoh's frames are going to be like in his Brave Shift form. So they didn't show his Brave Shift. I think his normal form is just going to be like a one-hit finisher, but his Brave Shift form will probably be either, I mean, I think originally Hyoh was Extreme Nova. He was like one of the first units to bring Extreme Nova, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Extreme Nova, like that's where the name came from. So I'm not sure if the new Hyoh will have Extreme Nova frames, or if it'll be triple Mirror of Equity or triple Bolting Strike. We'll just have to wait and see what his Brave Shift form looks like. It also could be a one-hit finisher. We don't know. But I'm bringing Dwayne anyways, just in case, so I have somebody to chain triple Mirror of Equity with my Flaring Ether Rain. All right? And so that's what he's doing there. Genesis, of course, is just here to bring the nuke. So I should probably actually talk a little bit about the gear too while I'm here. Just to explain, so I was actually trying to build these guys for killers. So Dwayne's not all that easy to build for full-on killers. He's not even maxed out on human. But here's some things you can keep in mind. So like Cypher's Coat is really nice because it does 50% human and machine killer on it. So that's really nice on someone like Dwayne. Hero's Amulet from the Final Fantasy 13 Vision World does 50% machine killer with a high attack stat on it. And then as far as machine killers go, there are tons of 100% machine killers like Value Memories. That's from 5-star Irving. Very, very nice. 100% machine killer, easy. The next easiest one to pick up is Cindy's STMR, which is 100% machine killer. All too easy. Even give you some MP restore on that, which is nice. So those are both 5-star units. You can easily pick them up. You probably have tons of them in your inventory. There's 100% machine killers. There's only one source of 100% human killer, right? And that's this Executioner Plus, which came from the Nier event 1 year ago, but it does have 100% human killer on it. And there are actually several sources of 100% demon killer. So let's actually do that real quick. Okay, so the two sources of 100% demon killer are, of course, Force Mysterion, which comes from Lunera, another 5-star unit. And then there's Crucifying Coercion, which you get from the Scorn of Azura trial. All right, very easy to complete that now, so make sure you go get that. Okay. I'm not sure if there are any materials that actually have all three of them on it. Let's check that. Okay, so it's just, yeah. This is Samurai Chizuru's, and it just does 25% Omni Killer. I mean, you may want it to just like fill in some missing killers. You also have Chains of Strength, which is another 25% Omni Killer. Okay. Those are the only ones that have all three of them, as far as I know. There may be ones that I don't have, but yeah, that's what it is. As far as ones that are demon and human together, those are very, very common. if you were around for these, like the Supreme Victor, I know it's limited, but if you have it, all right, you can have up to 2 of these, I think. Let's see, some of the other good ones are Loved by Generations. This comes from Golden Riser. That's 50% human demon. Souls Joined Through Prayers from Knights of Grandshelt, which is 75% demon human, but only if you're wielding a large sword or katana. So do keep that in mind. And then this is Cartons, I believe. Yeah, Full Moon Cartons, and that does 50% demon human. As for Human and Machine, Mystic Acuity, that's from the current Clash of Wills. So like I said, definitely pick that one up. It's a good one. Let's see, Cloud Strife. His materia is 50% human machine. We've got Yuffie, 75% human machine with throwing weapon or fist. So you might honestly be putting this on your Hyoh. In his Brave Shift form, because I think he's going to want to wield his STMR. I'm assuming he's going to want to wield his STMR, which is a fist, in his Brave Shift form. So if you have any of these, definitely consider one of these for your Hyoh in his Brave Shift form, if he's not already, capped on human and machine killer. But being a premium unit, he's probably just going to come with the standard 200% across the board to all killers. And then, of course, Scepter Descendant Aerith, 50% human machine as well. And then there's also, if you're looking specifically for mages, there is the Magic Human and Machine Killer. I can't remember where this comes from. I think it's an old trial materia. Someone let me know in the comments below if you remember where this one comes from. But that one's a good one for mages because it's strictly magic killers. You could use it on someone like Genesis, for example. All right. And then lastly, let's do Machine Demon. All right, Black Submarine. So this was, this one is from an Armory ticket from a while back, but it's got 75% Demon Machine on it, which is nice. You can see I've got it on my Genesis. Esther's TMR, but it's only 25%, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. Battle Intelligence. Oh yeah, this one's great. This is from 5-star Regina, which is 50% Demon and Machine, which is really, really nice. And so that one's very easy to come across. So those are some killers to think about, killer materials. Okay. As for Genesis, I've got him built balls to the wall, maxed out. He will look even better when he's got that 900% leader skill. His mag will probably be closer to like 15, 16,000 once he's got that 900% leader skill. And then if I can get him to EX3, his MP will increase a little bit more too, which would be awesome. So we'll just see. So obviously Genesis is going to be doing a considerable amount of damage in this fight, even though he has no Clash of Wills buffs or morale scaling damage. If you have the gear for him, including like Prophet's Diadem, either Moonlit Parade or Dazzling Demoness to increase his MP, this dude is going to be slaying this Clash of Wills. If you actually did the calculations for the modifier, so his MP modifier would be, let's just round that up to 7,800. Okay, a 7,800 modifier, if you wanted to do like an equivalent LB modifier, it would be something like a 900 times LB modifier, right? So he's doing like as much damage as Ayabrea would be doing on the team. And we all know that Ayabrea is like a totally broken damage dealer. She does stupid amounts of damage. And Genesis has a 150 amp in his kit. He's very, very well equipped for fire. He is fire locked. So of course, he is going to be coming to a firefight. But here's how I built him. If you haven't done the Sephiroth EXT fight to get this materia, go do it because it does work on... he gets the full benefit of it, so 100% human killer. He gets 50% HP, MP, 100% to all the other stats. So definitely use that on your Genesis. And then I gave him Black Submarine for the 75% Demon Machine to cap up all his killers. And he is good to go. You can see he's got 300% human machine. He's got 350% demon because I have equipped him with Ramuh. And Ramuh did get the unlocked demon killers. so the stat break demon killers. So that's why he has Ramuh equipped, so that he has that extra 50% demon killer. And it is a, I can't remember if it's, I think it's magic demon killer. Is it magic or is it all of them? I know it is physical magic, but I think he originally only has magic demon killer. Yeah, so he doesn't actually have any other physical demon killer. So that's 100% demon killer for mages, but only 50% demon killer for physical DPS units. So keep that in mind. All right. So that's Genesis. Kaito, obviously, he's just here for the turn 1 breaks and to get rid of, to roll back any undispellable buffs and all of that jazz. So that's the only reason he's on the team. He's not here to deal any damage on turn 1. He's just here for breaks and to get rid of buffs. Flaring Ether Rain, we don't care about that. We just want his Brave Shift form. So he gets all the rest of the good gear, because obviously he's going to be there dealing, considerable damage. He's also providing the 40% sword imperil for the party, which is pretty important. Okay. And yeah, so obviously my reign is EX3. However, when if I get my Hyoh, I will probably put this vision card on Hyoh, because it's good for fire units, and then I'll use the EX3 card from my Elena on Flaring Ether Rain. We'll just see. We'll see how it goes, because I may be using Rain's, what am I trying to say? I might be using Hyoh's normal form LB instead. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay. But anyways, he's pretty easy. Actually, I don't even think. Okay, yeah, I haven't actually built him for killers yet. But you can see when you give him Bahamut Esper, you only need 50% Demon Human Machine, so that's pretty easy. We can go ahead and do that right now. Let's do Battle Intelligence, so that takes care of our our machine and demon. So then we just need 50% human. Let's do, well, all right, let's do some human killer here. We'll just do Man-Eater, right? And then I'll just go ahead and do my Hateful Agent to give him his 200%. There you go, for the Epine, full Epine build. Excellent. All right, he'll look really good with a 900% leader skill as well. We're currently just using Rain's 500% leader skill at the moment. As you can see, he's activated as the leader, so that's only 500%. So another 400% on Rain, and he'll probably be touching 20,000 attack. Okay. Genesis will probably be hitting like 16. Yeah, I'll be excited to see what Hyoh does as well. But yeah, that leader skill is going to be pretty sweet. So that's my FTKO team. Let's take a quick look at my planned rank 1 team. Okay. So again, Hyoh is just there as a placeholder. I'm not even gonna look at the gear, because I honestly haven't I haven't loaded anybody up on the gear. I just slapped the units in there. So we're not gonna look at the builds, but Esther is gonna be my tank. Hyoh will be the leader. Flaring Ether Rain's still there because he's just fantastic. He's got a big burst, of course. He brings the 40% sword imperil for Genesis, and he just deals consistent turn-by-turn damage, which you're probably going to need if this boss is healing itself constantly. Plus, he brings his own 200% human killer to himself. He's got his own human killer buff, which is really nice. So, Kaito is obviously there to provide the demon and machine killers for the party. But we don't have a dedicated human killer. What that means is that Sylvie, as much as I want to bring Sylvie on the party, I'm probably going to have to swap Sylvie out and put Melissa in her place. Because Melissa can bring the human killer. She can give the 250% killer to Genesis, and then also potentially give it to Hyoh, because she can do it twice. One on the turn before and then one on the turn of your damage. She also will be there to help provide 80% general mitigation for the party for that fixed damage, also for Esther. And she can provide a 55% human mitigation for Esther. Esther has 75% demon and machine mitigations in her kit, so she should be good to go there. But having that extra human mitigation from Melissa may be the difference between her surviving some of the harsher turns. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right, but that's my planned rank 1 team. We'll see if that ends up working out for me. All right. So now let's talk about different categories. I'm not going to talk about magic tanks because we're not bringing magic tanks to this one. This is a physical tank fight. So let's load up the physical tanks. You notice that the field is getting very small. I'm not including any tanks that won't have an applicable leader skill. Also note that this is limited to the units that I have in my inventory. So for example, I do not have Lilith. Lilith is probably going to be a very good option as a physical tank because she can deal damage. Alongside her physical tanking, she's a very, very bulky physical tank, and she has the racial mitigations. I think she has demon human mitigations in her kit. So then you just have to provide some machine mitigations. But yeah, lightning is strictly there to provide the leader skill, because I wanted to point out that these units here should have units that can provide leader skills for them. So Esther, for example, all right, she even though she is not like a fire category, like if you're planning on pulling for Hyoh, don't worry, you can still use Esther, because in her Brave Shift form, she gets the Clash of Wills support tag. So she does have Clash of Wills support. So you can use Hyoh because his leader skill will work on all Clash of Wills support category units. So perfect. All right, we got our Esther. All right, Runda will also work because he is fire tagged. Okay, so I'm going to show you he is fire tagged. He's also the rebellion tagged. So keep that in mind for future Clash of Wills where you might actually bring Wondrous Flash Lightning. He does get the rebellion tag. That's why he has the leader skill currently with Lightning as the leader. Avalanche's Barret also has the rebellion tag, also has the fire tag. So if you're bringing Hyoh, all right, he may be a good one to bring. I'm putting Snow in here because he has the ice tag. So if you do pull Frosty, Frosty has a leader skill for ice tagged units. And so Snow should be able to be viable as a physical tank for this fight if you use Veritas of the Frost as your leader skill. All right, that's the only reason why he's on here. That, and he also has some really good mitigations that can make him a very viable physical tank for this fight. Let's look really quickly at the gear. So for Esther, I'm not planning on using Esther at all for damage, at least not currently. We'll see how it goes when we get in there. But in her normal form, the most important thing is to put on this Mystic Tenacity. All right, this thing is super cool. This is from the current Clash of Wills shop. It activates at the beginning of turn, every turn. What that means is, sorry, before I get to that, it activates the beginning of the turn, every turn, and is active until the mitigations are active until the unit dies, right? And it provides these mitigations, 25% to Beast, Human, Machine, Reaper, both physical and magic. We're of course only interested in the physical, human, and machine killers, although for Esther it's really just the human killer. But what this means is if Esther does die and she gets re-raised, this reactivates because it does at the beginning of the turn. Since it's in her normal form, she'll of course re-raise in her normal form. Boom, those mitigations go back up, and then you shift her. So she's going to start in her normal form, and then on turn 1, all right, with those mitigations up, she can then shift, right, and she's ready to rock and roll. So here's the gear that I've got for her. You notice she's built with 320% fire resistance. That way an 80% fire buff would get her to 400%. So, you know, assuming you take 100% off for the bonus modifier, and the boss does like a 200% imperil, then she should still be covered. Now, if the boss does a 300% imperil, we could be in trouble, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Anyways, here's the gear that we're using. Blizzard Orbs, of course, because you want Esther to counter as much as possible to fill up her LB gauge. Also provides 30% fire resistance, which is really great. Okay, Magma Stone is nice. This is a limited piece of gear, but it does 50% fire resistance and 30% HP. Obviously the Swordsman's Cuirass, which I mentioned earlier, because it does 60% fire. Flame Shield, again, another limited piece of equipment, but I think you should be able to get this with the keys now. You can go back and do some of the fights that for this one. 60% fire resistance. Grand Helm is just there for the HP and defense buffs. Sword of Light, of course, is just a fantastic defensive weapon. So, and that you can get it upgraded for free. Very nice. Make sure Esther has her TMR equipped so that that is what actually changes her normal attack to the attack that fills up her LB gauge. It also heals the party, both HP and MP, every time she counters. So that could be really, really important, especially for healing back from the fixed attacks. And then, yeah, so here's the materials that we use. Heavy Armor Mastery is fantastic because it does 50% to all stats. Warrior from Another World, that is Galuf's STMR, 40% HP, 40% defense, and 50% fire resist. And then Chains of Protection is 20% across the board with 40% defense and spirit and a ribbon effect. Fantastic. As for the vision card, I've given her Jex card. I know it is a premium card, but if you don't have it, just use Power Cut. All right, Power Cut. We all got one, like 2 weeks ago from the Dragon Quest Die logins. Put Power Cut on her. That'll work just as well. Okay. All right. So that's how I'm going to build my Esther for this fight. You can build her however you want, but that is how I am going to tank this fight. Now, as for Runda, all right, here's some gear you can use. I'm just showing you different gear. I would probably gear Runda very similar to how I've done my Esther in the actual fight, but here's some different gear you can use. Sylvie Sword is just great for general bulk. Armor of Light is nice because it does 100% HP, and also does 500 flat defense. Also has Demon Killer, but who cares about that? Runda's arm so he can equip a sword, right? Emperor's Ring is nice because it does 50% fire resist, plus 40% HP and 30% defense. Jex Bandana is nice because it just does the 50% equipment defense, and it's a high defense hat. Priest Vengeance is nice because it counters with morale and 60% fire. Judge's Oath, there's the Mystic Tenacity again. Sylvie's TMR is also great because it does another 50% equipment defense. And then he's got the Power Cut. So this is kind of like a budget-ish build, but you can see he's got a really healthy defense stat, plenty of HP. He'll probably do really well considering he just has fantastic mitigations, right? Now, he doesn't have any typed mitigations, so keep that in mind. You might need to bring some external racial mits to make him a little, just to make sure he survives, right? So a unit like Melissa would be really good for that. All right, Barrett has potential because he does have human mitigations in his kit, but he's not going to be all that fantastic. Probably the one thing that he does have going for him is he has Bar Firaja, which is the 200% fire buff. He also does a preemptive Bar Firaja. But yeah, other than that, I honestly haven't used Barrett for anything, so I cannot speak to how well he actually tanks things. You'd probably have to bring someone like Melissa, who can just re-raise him every turn. But you know, for the turns where the boss is imbued with fire, he could probably do just fine. All right, thanks to the Bar Firaja, and you don't have to build nearly as much fire resist on him. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. His SLB, I think, does 85% human mit, yeah. But he's kind of struggling with the 75% general mitigation, and so I don't know. I don't know how well he'll actually do, but someone might do it. As for Snow, if you're bringing Frosty for your leader skill, he can potentially work. Because he does have his Heroic Guard, which is a 90% general mit, which is extremely strong, right? Having 90% general mitigation is equivalent to having 85% general mitigation and guarding, all right? So 90% is like guarding with 85% general mitigation. It's insane. So if you have this 90% mit, plus it also comes with 50% human and machine racial mitigation. Okay, so all he needs is some external physical mitigation, I think, unless, does he have Protect? He doesn't. No, that's general mitigation. Does he have? Surely he has physical mitigation. Oh, there it is. Okay, so yeah, 50% physical mitigation, which isn't a whole lot, but, you know, with that 90% general mit, I think he's going to be pretty tanky, but you just need to have someone with an ice leader skill. So it would almost have to be Frosty, Veritas, the new Veritas of the Frost that's coming out. I think that's the only way he would be viable, but that has potential. Also, if you're just doing a level 99 no mods clear, he might still do just fine. So do keep him in mind for your physical tanking needs. Alright, so that's it for the tanks. Let's take a look at some support. And here I'm primarily looking at killer support. Some of these units can also provide elemental support, like with elemental imbues and such, but you know, killers and survivability is sometimes a bit more desirable. Now Ling is actually really strong here because she has a lot of really cool support things in her kit. In her normal form, you know, she's got good morale fill, she's got some mitigations and whatnot. She even has some breaks, you know, in case of emergency. But then in her Brave Shift form, she can imbue your party with fire with 25% amp. I know it's not much, but you know, it's something. And she can provide your human killer with human mitigation and your machine killer with machine mitigations on it. So she's actually a very strong unit potentially for this one. Probably a bit more like of a budget unit, you know, and might only see a whole lot of like real use in level 99 clears. However, I did see some rank 1 clears from the previous Clash of Wills that used Ling, so you know, she can and may well work very, very well here. Having 2 killers plus one of the elements lineup is quite strong, so keep Ling in mind. All right, don't forget about her. Melissa is really here for the main things are for the human killers, obviously. All right, very, very powerful for making sure you hit that damage cap. She's also got some good general support, morale. It's like she's a morale battery. Like if you have her on the party, you're never going to worry about morale thanks to her chronic flow. The thing is insane. It's just literally churning out morale every turn. She's also good for her parasol shield, which does 55% human mitigation for the party. Okay. So that can be really important, especially for your tank. If your tank doesn't have innate human mitigations, it can be really, really useful. Also her LB and SLB, I think. So her LB is 75% general mitigation, which is kind of meh, but her SLB is 80% general mitigation, which is much nicer. And then obviously she's got the haste ability where she can reduce your cooldowns. Personally, I'm thinking I could use this on Esther to reduce that cooldown on Esther's Storm Guardian, so that Esther can get her 90% mitigation up more frequently. So that's where I'm leaning on putting Melissa on my rank 1 team potentially. But she can also imbue the boss, right? Don't forget. She can imbue the boss. She actually has 2 forms of boss imbue, so this is just a 1 turn, but when you're in Clash of Wills, she's got the one that does it for 3 turns. Okay, so that can also be really, really nice on a against a boss that does nothing but physical damage. In the case of Sylvie, Sylvie is just you know, generally all around great for everything. Like all of her support skills, like she's still just super fantastic, right? She's got the 85% mit for the party. Granted, it's only for 3 turns, but you know, in a pinch, in an emergency, that can be extremely useful. You know, she's got all the elemental resists, tons, and a lot of these things fill morale. She's got all your break resistance. She's got all that covered, buffs, all that stuff. Like, I mean, and she's got the demon killer for this one, so 250% demon killer, really nice. So of course she's just got a lot of things going on in her kit. So anytime Sylvie can make it on a party is a good day, right? I mentioned before Fina Dark Lineage. I won't go over it too much, but just to reiterate, so she can do the demon and machine killers for the whole party, and can also do the focused ones, which are the 250% to 1 ally to both demon and oh no, she can't do it to. She can only do it to the demon. She can't do the 250 to machine, but that's okay. And she can do general fire support. I think she has Infiraga. I was about to catch myself. I didn't see it at first, but yes, she has Infiraga, which is fire imbue with 35% for the party. And if you have her EX2, she can do a 100% amp to 1 ally, which is useful. All right. Yoshi, you know, he hasn't really, seen too much action lately, but he does have both killers. And I think, let's see, this is Brave Shift LB, does 150% to human and machine, 300% LB damage boost, which is really nice. He can also imbue the party with ice. It's like a terrible amp, I think. Yeah, it's only like 15% amp, but hey, if you want to go ice, you can bring him. I wouldn't recommend him for your ice imbue, but if you are just doing like a level 99 clear, he could potentially take care of that for you. He's also got the full buff, the nice full buff in his normal form, and it comes with 85% elemental resist buff across the board, which is nice. So just as sort of like a general support unit, could be very useful. Same goes for NVA Elena, because in her Brave Shift form, she does 150% demon and human killer with a full buff to the party. She can also imbue the party with ice. Again, only with a 15% amp, but it is what it is. If you're in a pinch and you're on a budget, she can do that for you. All right. Let's load up some breakers and imperils. And again, keep in mind, in order to keep this from being super long or extended, I'm only showing you just like a handful of units for each category. There are certainly going to be other ones that you can use. Please feel free to list in the comments below some other units you think are viable here. So for our breakers and imperilers, Red-Eyed Sage Soul is really nice for if you're bringing an ice team, because he can do a good ice imperil with an imperil field. So I think, oh no, let's say it's light and dark in this form, isn't it? Where's the one with the ice imperil? It must be in his Brave Shift form. So this has the ice and dark imperil field. And then does he have the, here it is. Okay, 140 ice imperil plus the 30% imperil. So that's 170% total imperil. So that one's pretty useful. Obviously, if you have Elisperis, I don't. If you have Elisperis, she's going to be much better for you on the ice front, because she has, I think, 170% ice imperil, plus she's a CoW unit, so she's just going to generally provide more support in Clash of Wills than someone like Red-Eyed Soul would. Okay. Avon or Yvonne, I don't know how you say it. If you got lucky on the pulls like I did, I got lucky on the video summons and pulled an Yvonne. He can do your oh no, that's not what it is. It's the Enhanced Glimmer, which does the 150 to fire and ice, and then also does 40% imperil field, so 190%